Hey everyone, what's up? This is a live overview review um, that I am doing on this Sunday morning. And I am doing, as you can see the title, I am doing a live review of the newest and most recently released, um, I guess you can say, collection by Eric W. Schwartz. Now, of course, as you all know, if you watch my YouTube channel here, I did an overview and review of Sabrina, A Decade in Black and White, which was the first Sabrina book that Eric published, or first collection of book that Eric published back in 2012. And this detailed the first 10 years, I think, of the book. Basically went into good detail. Basically was a 10-year run. I didn't even notice that one. That's not on the cover there. That doesn't look online. Oh, it's just a joke, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like it's just a joke. Because it doesn't feel like it's, yeah, it's a joke. But anyway, this covered up to about, I think 2007, I believe. It's covered up to about 2007. This was the first 10 years, I believe, of the book. Matter of fact, it was actually the first 14 years because they have strips in here from 1993, it looks like, or 1995. See, no, 1990, yeah, 1993. And then Sabrina started to come into existence about 1996. So it goes to about 2006, I should say, 2006. It's a very good book. Really recommend getting it. If you want a good, if you don't feel like accessing the Sabrina Online website, which is sabrinaonline.com, where you can get a lot of these, and they go by year after year. They go every quarter. Every year is separated by a quarter. So you have 4 quarters in a year. So you have 4 quarters of a story for the year. So if you don't want to go through all that, then I would recommend getting this off Amazon. It's really good. As you can hear, that is really hard cover, so it's really neat. And it's got some behind the scenes things too. You know, it goes up to year 9 and then year 10. So yeah, it's like the first 10 years of the book. So yeah, it's the first 10 years. So it goes up to about 2006. And then of course the bonuses you get are like the first strip she was in, which was like 1993, 94, 95. And then you really get into the run, which was like 96 to 2006. And so it's definitely a good choice to read and everything. And like I said, you get some bonus material, like you get some art from other artists in there that have contributed characters or suggestions or whatever. So you get a ton of artwork, even some from Eric himself. So you get a ton of it. You get a ton of that artwork, which is pretty nice to see. So you get, like I say, you get a lot of good artwork here, and it really works out. And of course, you get some bonus material, like you get a 400th comic strip, a 400th comical wrap-up party, which is pretty funny. Especially the ending is very funny. They kind of give more of a behind-the-scenes thing, like with Sabrina and Richard. We find out that they're not just a couple in this comic strip, but they're a couple outside the comic strip, like the couple outside of the comic strip. You know, just like some actors and actresses are couples, not just on camera, but off camera as well. So That's an interesting concept. I really like it, and the way it ends is pretty good, pretty funny. But overall, definitely recommend getting this. Like I said, if you don't want to go on Sabrina Online and click on the archives and look through the every year by quarter on the book to catch up on things. So I would suggest getting this down the line. But I'm not just here to talk about that now, even though I just did. You can check out my review. What I'm here to talk about is the second volume, which was released, of course, 5 years later, which was this year, and was actually released 2 weeks ago. That's right, about 2 weeks ago, it was released. I first found out about it along with a lot of other people. I found out about it on Eric W. Short's on the Sabrina Online website, where he said there was going to be another book. It was going to be a collection of the next 10 years, basically kind of a wrap up, if you will. And he said it was coming out this year. And he gave an idea. Basically, I think he was going to say it around summer, end of June or something like that. So I looked online, and lo and behold, there it was. I mean, I looked a couple of times. I don't think it was up just yet, but it was getting there. And then recently I looked online, and well, like I said, there it was. We have Sabrina Online, A Tale of Two Decades. Yes, this is Sabrina Online, A Tale of Two Decades. And it's the back of it, of course. So, yeah, it's a very good book. It basically is a collection of the next 10 years, which is like 2006 or 2007 to recently, which is like 2007. It's basically a collection of late 2006, or what remains of 2006's run up to the end, which was in 2016. Now, my cover for my copy has a few little rough marks. I don't think you can see it very well there, but they have a little bit of rough marks. Again, I don't know if it was kind of roughed up a little bit during the delivery. But again, you can hear that it's a hardcover. There's the side of it. And the cover, first of all, I like the fact that you have a cover which has all the characters. You can the two female skunk characters up there. Can't think of their names right now. There, you have Sabrina's mom. You have Zig-Zag. You have Amy. You have Richard. You have Amy and Thomas's child right there. Let's see. Yeah, you got Thomas right behind the logo there. You got Tabitha right here. You got a cameo. You got Tabitha right here. You got a cameo by Grimlock right there. And a few other Transformer figures, I guess you can say. You got Carly right there. So you got a lot of the characters right there with Sabrina. Of course, you have Sabrina up in front looking at the audience on the cover. So pretty cool. And then, like I said, you got the back cover here, which is kind of like if they separated these in volumes, like let's say what they would do with Garfield, this would be the covers of all the separate book volumes right here. And then, of course, I got in color the last strip of the regular monthly run. Now, speaking of which, Eric W. Shorts, and I'm sure Bob Show would like to hear this. Eric W. Shorts basically has indicated that the comic is not entirely done. It's monthly run. It's monthly, weekly run. I guess you can say it's weekly, monthly run is over, but it's still going on. He has a Patreon. He actually has a Patreon. He actually has two Patreons going. One is his own personal thing where he does like little side stories here and there, more mature adult side stories, if you catch my drift. And original stories, like I say, more mature adult stories, if you kind of catch my drift there. And then he has a Sabrina Online Patreon page where the more you contribute, the more you contribute, the better the chance you're going to get more Sabrina Online material. And with that said, they did recently publish, or he did recently publish another Sabrina series of comic strips in color on the website, so you can check that out. And it follows right after this. It actually takes place about 9 months, about seven, I would say about 8 months later, timelines and continuity wise. It takes place about almost 8 months to quite possibly 9 months later, but it takes place around that time frame. And it does give us good detail of how that came to be, of how Sabrina ended up, as we see at the end of the comic, in the last panel that they give us, how Sabrina and Richard, oh sorry, the book at the mic there, how they basically come to be expecting parents. So yeah, Sabrina basically continues on to that of how how it was found out and everything. So how they discovered it, and it's really interesting. It's a good read. Definitely check out that strip there. But yeah, you are still going. But yeah, we are still going to get Sabrina Online comic strips. We're just not going to get them on that monthly basis. They're going to be Patreon exclusive, so that when the more you contribute, the better the chance we got. So, like I said, it's going to be a Patreon exclusive a strip. Now, it's not just going to be on Patreon, believe me. Basically, what he's going to do, from what it looks like, in my opinion, is the more we support his Patreon, and the more which encourages him to do more comic strips on Sabrina, the more chances we're going to have to see them on SabrinaOnline.com. So, yeah, just always click on this month, and you'll probably see a new comic strip once in a while. But yeah, the comic strip's not totally done. It's just going to be more like a every now and then kind of deal. But this basically collects the last 10 years of the run. It's basically it divides it actually in this version. We don't go by years, we actually go by chapters. Yeah, instead of going by years, we go by chapters here. So we've got about let's see, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We have 20 chapters. It says we have 20 chapters in here. Basically, that's the next 9 years. So, which is pretty cool. And, I like the stories that they got here. I really do. I like how they do kind of break the fourth wall. I like how some of the stories, really, they really focus on Zig. I like how the comic basically, really, especially here in chapter, I think it's chapter 11. This one is. I'm not really sure. No, this is chapter 15. But I like how we get like 4 issues in, 4 chapters in, and you get more of a development between Sabrina and Zig-Zag, because you got to remember, it wasn't until like the end of the first run, at the end of the first decade, the 10th year, that they really started to kind of ease up on each other. They started to get more along. They started to get to know each other better and become more friend-like. Instead of just employer-employee, they became more friendly, friend-like, if you will. And I like how they do this with this chapter here, because, and I like some of the panels here with the chapters, because basically in this chapter here, Zig-Zag, who's calling for some technical support because she's having an issue with her computer, calls up technical support, tells them her customer number, and it's through this conversation with the tech supporter on the other line, that she finds out that the tech supporter she's talking to is Richard, RC, Sabrina's boyfriend. And Richard is also shocked that the customer he's talking to on the other line, in which I'm sure he matched the customer number ID with, is Zig-Zag. So, and there's the panel right there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's the panel right there, where they kind of discover it. And she doesn't hide it from Sabrina. She tells Sabrina she's talked to him, and I guess she comes up with an idea to take both for her and Sabrina to take him to lunch. And the way she comes up with it, it's kind of shocking because she tells Sabrina she's going to go visit him at his job, and I guess Sabrina is okay with it. She says she trusts her, which takes Zig-Zag by surprise. But Sabrina's kind of like, "Oh yeah, I trust you as long as I get to tag along." And the way Zig-Zag finds a way to get him out of lunch is really hysterical because even Richard doesn't know what to make of it. Because even Richard doesn't know what to make of it. And then you have one of his fellow associates shocked by this, and then asking Richard to teach him how to, get that same kind of magic and result that he saw Richard have there with Zig-Zag, even though Zig-Zag had told Richard to play along. So I like the fact that we kind of get more development with that relationship between Zig-Zag, Sabrina, and Richard, especially if it's just from a friendship perspective between Sabrina and Zig-Zag, because as we see here, Zig-Zag's becoming more into her own as a friend and having a better understanding. Um, I like the fact that one thing I do like is Zig-Zag's comment after they go shopping, after they drive after lunch and they take Richard back to his work. I like how instead of them going back to their job and probably spending the rest of a boring day there or something like that, that they instead decide to go shopping. And I like how it's a little bit of a callback to what Zig-Zag does to Sabrina, because as we find out um, in the early strips, and we find out in these strips, anytime somebody ends up getting some from another, if you catch my drift, Zig-Zag always seems to know, and she basically tells Sabrina, "Believe me, you would find it gross if I told you how I always was able to sense these things." So I like how they kind of play that. I like how they kind of they allow Sabrina to give Zig-Zag a bit of her own medicine when they're getting ready to go back, and Zig-Zag and Sabrina's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go," but she tells Zig-Zag, "As soon as you dress into something that I would allow 10 feet within front of me, or 10 feet with me." Basically, Sabrina telling Zig-Zag, "As soon as you dress into something more appropriate that I would allow 10 feet within 10 feet of me, then we can go." And Zig-Zag expression is more like, "How in the world did you know?" And she's like, "You're you, aren't you?" So, and then, of course, one of the other shocks that she gets is the fact that Zig-Zag ends up purchasing a video game console, because we find out one thing about Zig-Zag in these strips, more so than in the other strips, is she, because at first she doesn't understand why Richard, because she finds this out during lunch, like she doesn't understand why Richard and Sabrina are so into this nostalgic stuff of Transformers and Amigas and Microsofts and all that. And and Sabrina counters this by saying, "Well, what about those video games you were playing in the past? Those video games of the past that you were playing on the computer." She points that out, and that basically encourages, I guess, Zig-Zag to basically buy a video game console, which Sabrina's at first shocked by, because all she wants to buy it for is to play one game. And instead of kind of berating her a little bit more, she's like, Zigzag's like, "So what's the problem?" And she said, and Sabrina, her answer is, "So move over and let me play." Well, so move over, I want to play too. So, and Zigzag's comment is that she knew she'd lure Sabrina into her bed eventually. but not the way Zig-Zag was hoping. But overall, it's pretty good. I mean, they even have a moment in here. It's a comic strip in here where where Tabitha, to try to get her over her Sabrina's sister, Tabitha, to get her over her whole movie deal and all that, they allow her to pose for kind of do a little bit of artwork with Zig-Zag, but the way they do it and the way they compromise it is Sabrina basically says, "Hey, do it this way, use these outfits, and I'm cool with it." But the effect is, but the result, it turns out all right, but not as all right as Sabrina would hope, because um, Tabitha asked her mom how big her whats are, if you catch my drift, how big her knockers are, excuse my language, and that gets her mom to call for her husband and everything. And one thing I like about these books, each of them, is the way they present, like I said, each chapter or year. And this is I think it's chapter 14, and this is where Zig-Zag discovers what the internet really is. But yeah, this is the part right here, and this is after Zig-Zag gets an eye hemorrhage temporarily. But this is basically the story arc or story plot where they try to get Tabitha out of her groove of being to be a movie star, and the compromise is, to wear some toga outfits, which they do. So they wear some toga outfits, and that's how the shoot commences. In other words, it's like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to get out of her system. And then I love Tabitha's reaction, because basically Sabrina informed Zig-Zag that Tabitha had discovered her site on the internet. And so Sabrina basically, after it's all said and done, child-proofs the internet. And Tabitha's reaction is, "You made it smaller," because in a sense that kind of relates to real life young kids, to a lot of young kids these days, because when you put parental guidance on your filters, doesn't matter if it's your computer or your game consoles or your Netflix or whatever, those kids are always going to be curious. They're going to be, I mean, of course, they're going to ask questions why you did it in it, but you just, like Sabrina says, yes, yes, I did do it. You stick by your guns because you get the message across of, yeah, you can be on the internet, but you can't access these kind of sites anymore. So overall, though, the book I think is really good. I think it's a great addition. It does end on Sabrina. It does end and come full circle with the wedding of Sabrina. And, it does come to an end, and with the wedding of Sabrina and Richard, which is kind of cool. And then, of course, there's the comic strip that you can also see in color on the back. But basically, this is where we kind of leave off right there. And like I said, it's kind of where we leave off, because this basically is where the new strip that came out this month, or this past month, comes into play. So, like I said, and it's a decent conclusion, and again, you kind of get more fan art out there, and you get some bonus material. Like, you get a history of Sabrina. I like the title. It's like a less than brief history of Sabrina Online, and you kind of get a history, like how it all began with, like with Amy, and how it went from there. So, and it goes for about, I'd say it goes for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It goes to about 8 pages right there. So kind of talks about how far it's come, what's come of it. Even showcases highlights that you can get a Sabrina plush if you want to. And then it has like a bonus strip here, kind of combining live action with live action photos with Sabrina, a guest appearance by Sabrina at the end. So, and this goes on for I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages as well. And then, like I said, you get Sabrina's appearance right at the end. So pretty cool. And then of course you get more of the like in the at the end of the last book, you get some art of Sabrina Online bonus features with art by other artists as well as Eric himself. So you get a lot of that in there. Overall, I think it's a good overall. Like I said, it's a good addition to if you're a fan, to any web comics collection. It's a good addition. So, and if you're just a fan of comics in general, collection, comic book collection books, basically if you're a fan of comic strips and collection of comic strips, this is probably one of the best ones you're going to get because um, it's really worth it. I mean, if you've been a fan of Sabrina Online for a while, then this is definitely what, and you want to just keep reading it. Like if you don't want to go online, if you don't want to go online to, like I said earlier, to search the different monthly quarters of every month or every year, then something like this and the first one are definitely worth getting because they're good to take on road trips as well because you'll be able to read these in case you have no internet access or you don't want to use up your data on your phone. This is some of the best material you're going to get. And again, I like the fact that the book itself is very sturdy, and I like that there's a little I like how they kind of like introduce the book. They like I say they detail down the chapters, how many there are. They got a forward by Eric in here, and then you get like I said the chapter, and then you kind of get like a recap. So overall, it's pretty good, and like I said, I think each chapter goes for about like 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It goes for about 12 weeks, basically. 12. It looks like it's about 12 pages a chapter in here. So, 12 pages a year or whatever it is. So overall, it's not too bad. And for about 22, I think 95 is a good collector's item. You can probably get it cheaper, and then maybe at a Barnes and Noble or whatever other books are sold. But for 22, it's not too bad. And like I said, it recently came out on June 30th. So I would recommend getting your hands on it now because last time I checked, there are only 11 copies left on Amazon, like till they order more. So definitely get your hands on it if you can. But overall, like I said, it's a nice addition. It's not conclusion to the monthly run of the Sabrina Online series. Like I said, it's still going on, but it's going on more at a more subtle pace for Eric because, like I said, he's got not one but two Patreon pages. Like I said, the Sabrina Online one is to help him continue the comic series or the web comic series at his own pace, but still, distribute the material for you and I to enjoy, as well as he has his own at ES Underline Productions, and that's where he does more of the adult, more mature comic strips and artwork. As a matter of fact, one of them, just in case you guys are curious, from what I understand that he's working on, is a side story based on a plot here. As a matter of fact, I'll show you the plot. Basically, it deals with basically the plot takes place right here around chapter 11. On not chapter 11, but chapter 14, I should say. It takes place around here, chapter 14. And basically, this is where Zig-Zag learns about the internet and a little bit more, and she gets upset by the people trolling her and everything, and then she goes sort of, and this is where it all begins right here. This is where she decides to go on a tour, which is basically right here. It all takes place here and concludes right here, where she goes and tries to encounter the people that have been trolling her and everything, basically been trolling her, making fun of her and all that. So that's how it all begins. But this panel right here, this is the message of what the Adventure at Home story, I think, it's called. It's basically a spin-off of this. It basically is like shows you what happens in between these three panels right here. It's like after this panel, it's like it shows you what happens in between these three panels. So, and we do get the name of the character, the mother character there in that panel. Her name is Helen. Her name is Helen. So, yeah, basically, she's a new character that gets introduced in the spin-off story to that called Adventure at Home. And like I said, that's a more mature, adult, risky story that Eric's working on his own Patreon. Like I said, he has his own Patreon, which is ES Underline Productions. And then, of course, he has one for Sabrina Online as well. So overall, though, I really highly recommend getting this book. It's very sturdy. You might say, well, what's that sound? Books are like that sometimes, but I like it. It's pretty good, pretty sturdy. All books are going to be like that. But overall, it's decent. I really like it. And like I said, it's a decent addition and decent conclusion to the monthly run. It's probably one of the better comic strip collection books you're going to find, along with the first one as well. So overall, I recommend getting both. Definitely get this one if you want to get to the end, if you want to be spoiled a little bit. But if you want a true run and take your time with it, definitely go and get both of them at the same time. They will be worth it, believe me. So that's all I'm going to say. Again, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching this live if you did. But like I said, this is definitely one of the better one of the better comic book strip collections out there. I would recommend really going out and getting this to add to your collection. And there you go. There's the website and the year it was published, if you can see that. So, like I said, definitely go out and get it. It's like I said, it's probably one of the best one of the best comic strip collection books you're gonna get. And even if he doesn't continue Sabrina Online, for that much longer, and he just, does it for a little bit, but as a Patreon exclusive, and then ends it, then this is probably one of the best solutions probably one of the best collections you're gonna get overall. And if you just like comic strips or comic books in general, this is definitely something to get. So really, that's all I'm gonna say. Thank you all for watching. Take care. Again, I suggest getting them, and I will talk to you later. Comment down below. Thank you all for watching live, and I'm out.